good, everybody? It's Glory LaJoy, a.k.a. G-Money, a.k.a. Big Glow with the dub, a.k.a. Glow if you know, and Lady G if you're what? Nasty. And I'm here with the bestest to ever do it, my co-host.
Hey, y'all. It's E. Welcome in.
Claps. Hello, friend.
Hey, friend. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm all right. No complaints. Wouldn't do no good anyways.
Fair. I'm okay. Off camera, we were trying to figure out some configurations. It didn't go in my favor, so that had me a little irritated.
Fair.
But other than that, swell.
I am trying to hold back not saying that there's
and you said it anyway, but no one knows who you're talking about.
Yes,
so
I didn't say it. Yeah.
For today's topic, y'all, we're very much in the vibe, okay?
Yes. heavy.
So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about the in-between.
Yes.
Because, being an adult, life is about transitions. And sometimes it can feel like you are in a transitional stage consistently, to the point where you're just being battered by the waves of life.
Yes.
And you're not a good swimmer.
Yes.
So we just want to wrestle with that today and see if we can get some clarity, see if we can get some, I don't know, a new outlook, a new perspective.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, something that has been weighing on me personally is like everything is constantly changing while nothing is changing. And I think that perception obviously is probably a bit distorted.
Oh, yes.
But at the same time, like, it's valid. Like, the economy is shit. We're fighting, like, multiple different wars that we don't need to be fighting. America's never been more polarized, like, so it's like the same shit, different day. So we have a thread.
Yes. And
this thread, I'm going to pull it up on my phone. We'll both have it on our phones, actually. And with this thread, this was written by a writer known as Diva Yeti 1 on Instagram. And I'm actually going to go to the original post really quickly and just read kind of like her opening remark on this thread to really set the frame. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about some of the posts that really resonated with us and what we're navigating right now as adults, and just go from there.
Yes.
So let me see if I can quickly find it. So the framing of the thread from Divayati 1 says, if you were born between 1995 and 2002, life really said, let me test you. She rhymed unintentionally too. Or maybe it was intentional. So the first slide that we want to get into says this: you graduated into an economy that hates you. Rent is half your salary. Groceries cost more than your phone bill. You have post-shawarma clarity after eating because of how much you paid for it. Saving for anything feels like a joke. You were told work hard and you'll be fine. But you're working 2 jobs and still can't afford to move out. The math isn't mathing. And everyone's pretending it's your fault. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, because where do you start? Like,
you start with the fact that we graduated into an economy that hates us.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I remember when I seen this because a friend of mine shared it with me, and I had to send it to E because I'm like, bro, we gotta talk about this, bro. Because it was like a moment to feel I was like, yeah.
Validated.
And it's not just, like, it's all of us. Like, all of us. All of us. Regardless of where, I mean, there may be a portion of someone who, like, is like, I mean, I have a really good job. I'm getting paid very well. Everything's fine for me. Yeah. But, like, even if you do have a good job and whatever you can pay for, like, your rent and stuff, the economy overall and just the state in which we're in right now is awful. To be like a young person. You get in your 20s, and I think we have this idea we're in our 20s, we're young, we're fly, we're fine, we're hot. We want to go do fun things. We want to have a good time. And it's not to say that you can't do the things. Find the joy. You can find the joy in any room that you are in. It's all about you being able to see it and find it and intentionally and grab it. But at the same time, like, it does feel like a sense of like, man, I did all the things. Y'all told me to go to school. I went to school. Y'all said, all right, you might need another degree to supplement the graduate degree or the undergrad degree. Okay, did that too. All right, boom. Get out of school. A lot of times they tell you if you work, you went to this school, you went to a good school, you're going to get a job right away. Lies. Okay? Usually just lies. It is typically who you know.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They make you feel like if you're really smart, that's all you need. No, you do need relationships. You need relationships. You need to know people. Oftentimes that's gonna be the way in, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Right. So there's also a part of this that is like they just are not telling us the right things to be able to maneuver in general, and then add everything that's happening right now.
So you were saying that we haven't really received the appropriate information.
Yeah.
That we need to actually get the connections that will help us establish like a career after graduation.
Yeah, and I think even in regards to when we're thinking about the hard economic times that we're existing in, it's not that it's the first time this has happened, right? Maybe in this way, but like even down to that conversation, like who's really telling us like, okay, in the past or around this time when I was 20 something, I'm sure maybe somebody's having a conversation somewhere, but like it's not necessarily being communicated in a mass way that it could probably help. Yeah. So like for the 20 something year olds back during like, I don't know, Great Depression, I'm just throwing the first thing out that comes to mind. Yeah. Is there things that we could be thinking about incorporating or ways of like navigating? Like how did they maintain a sense of hope? How did they like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. That's a fair point. And I think what I think about is at least there being a difference between the previous generations and our generation right now is that the assets that you're told to go for that's going to set you up for financial freedom, which would be a house, it's like impossible to have. I think I saw a post, actually, I reposted it on my Instagram that was saying in Ohio specifically, like the median rent is going to be like $9,000 a month, and for like a house or something like that, for the mortgage or something. I might be mixing up the terms, but there's an increase, and renters want you to make 3 times your income. Or maybe it was 3 like times your rent. Maybe the number that it was increasing to was a little smaller. Yeah. And then monthly, you would have to be bringing in like 9,000, which means you'd have to be making like over $100K a year. And most people are not getting that salary. And something I keep coming back to is like, I can get a job today. Like I can go to any, low wage paying job and get a job and work my way up the ranks. But that can take years, for one thing. And then also when you get a college degree, it's because you are trying to acquire a certain set of skills that are very marketable and highly transferable so that you are going to be at the top of the applicant pool. And sometimes you'll apply for jobs that like you can do well, and then they'll tell you, well, you're overqualified.
Yeah, man. Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Like, and I think that's just code for you can be asking for a higher salary than we don't want to pay you. Yeah, exactly. We're not going to pay you what you would rightfully deserve. Yep. We want to get the cheapest labor out of you. And so it all just goes back to capitalism, really, because America could not make it any more clear that they care about profit over people. Yeah. Because also, not a part of this thread, but also related to the topic, I think you had posted about like,
I sent it to you.
Okay, no, you sent it to me. Okay, so it was a video of just like this random somebody recording and talking with people in this restaurant in New York. Yeah. And asking them how much they make. Yeah. And what do they do? And most of the people that were answering were saying, like, they did something in tech, and overwhelmingly, all of the jobs in tech were making above $90,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then there was at least one person in that entire restaurant that they got to talk to that, and again, it's who they got to talk to. There might have been other people, but that they got to talk to that was a teacher, had the lowest salary, which is $48,000 a year.
Yep.
And I was going through the comment section, and one of the comments was saying that it's funny how for all of the jobs that are tech, they're like funneling money into those jobs, and you really don't understand like what the job title even means.
Yep.
But for the roles where they actually contribute to society, they're making the least amount of money, and that's always been the case. Is like taking care of people. Community care has always been put like a responsibility put on, like religious organizations and charity organizations as like taking care of people is charity. It's not a responsibility that we have inherently as a community or as a society. It's like when anyone is in need of something, or first of all, it has to be determined that you, like we learn in social work school, like there's the deserving poor. Yeah. So it's like you can't only be poor. Yeah. You have to be deserving of my charity. Yep. Which also ties me to another post that I just put on my story today about white saviorism. Yeah. And how it's not. I mean, obviously the concept is definitely formulated by white bodies and perpetuated by white bodies, but it isn't only white bodies that can live out white saviorism. But white saviorism is this idea that like you're like you're helping people, but it's really about making you feel it's really about you as the person that's offering the help, making you feel good, making you feel comfortable. And the moment that it becomes uncomfortable, the way in which you have to sacrifice or the way in which you have to meet people's needs, then you no longer want to give your charity. You no longer want to help because you don't feel good about it. And that's not to say that, like, when you offer service to someone, that if they, like, treat you unkindly, like, you should just be walked all over like a doormat. But, like, you also have to take into the context, like, for example, helping the unhoused. Because with the rent prices, you could be unhoused today. Yeah. Today. It only takes people, one paycheck. Away. Yeah, one paycheck for you to be like, okay, I can't do this. I can't anymore, and I don't know what else to do. Because like I said earlier, getting a low wage job is easy. Right. It doesn't really require much skill. You just have to be able to take orders in some respects. Some customer service and you can get by, but like you won't ever get free. And then can you get by? Like some of these jobs are not even paid. Let's be clear, there are people who are unhoused who have jobs, but they cannot afford a rent because of rent is so high and continues to go up. So like there's that too, where it's like, you could go get a job, a low wage job, but like, is the low wage job even enough to secure a house over your head? Like, and don't even get me started in regards to the options that you got with redlining and all these other things. Right. So then it's like safety or be unhoused. Because if I pick a place that maybe is not the greatest because of a lot of factors, it's like I got a place, but I don't even know if I'm going to be able to survive in this area. Exactly. And that's like, that might sound extreme, but that's like a very real thing. No, that is the reality. Like, when you are unhoused, you often, I think when you're struggling in general, but especially when you don't have a consistent place where you can go. Yeah. You are constantly making sacrifices and snap judgments on a binary. Yeah. Like, you don't have that many options. Yeah. Because it's like, you have to make snap decisions. Yes. Because your brick wall haiku. Oh yeah, like when that's what I'm thinking. Brick wall. Well, I don't even know. I can't even recite it from memory. I think it's like brick walls force you to consider the options you have to succeed. Or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, so like you will run into a lot of brick walls because, and then for the people that are helping you, if you are staying in a shelter or if you are getting any kind of street outreach, it really takes very compassionate people that really are really working to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Because if you're so disconnected from the experience, then, and it doesn't mean you have had to have experienced homelessness to understand.
Yeah.
It's even less about understanding, because it's like, it's not about you being able to put yourself in the shoes of the other person and recount the experience as if it was something you lived through.
Yes.
It's you actually listening and like clearly validating and witnessing these are the things that they're facing right now.
Yes.
And it's like, whether or not you can imagine what that's like isn't the point. It's like, these are the things I'm up against. And so unless you have the capacity to offer me solutions or to even like have a discussion with me, an honest discussion with me about what we can do to fix to address the short-term problem, and then also start working towards the long-term. Because I think oftentimes people in the helping profession specifically get into this mindset where they're like, well, the person should really be focusing on the root cause. And then it's like, babe, the stability, like, and the stability is the short-term like stuff that matters right now. And then when they're in a stable position, then you can work on the more long-term things. But it takes time, and you have to build trust. There needs to be a rapport. But I say all that to say, like, it's not even like the economy as an entity hates us. It's the system. Like, the system is set up in a way to simply benefit those who have money, who have resources, who have an immense amount of privilege, for them to wield that privilege so they maintain that position, and then everyone else at the bottom just gets what they can. Or in the middle, just gets what they can. And it's like, if we could collectively come together and start to reimagine a system that will serve all of us. No one is meant to have an immense amount of immense amount of money. Like, especially when this is a made up thing. Like, it's printed. We assign the value to them. We assign all of the meaning to the power of the dollar and all of that. So it's like, if we made all of that up, then we could change it. And that doesn't mean that there aren't grave implications for what it means for the change. Like, I imagine that there would be some degree of like collapse, or just, and whatever that collapse is, whatever that burden is mostly going to hurt the poor. Like, everyone that's already in poverty, everyone that's already under the bar, like, is mostly going to hurt us. And it's like, if we're willing to take that, to see better, to get through the hard part, to get to whatever the good part is, like, I don't want to hear any billionaire complaining about, I'm losing out on. Nigga, what? You have plenty.
More than you need.
You have more than you need. You have so much. You don't even know what to do with it. You out here doing dumb shit. That's why them people died in that goddamn makeshift homemade submarine, because you're doing dumb shit. But anyway, that's the one thread. Or not, that's the one slide. That's the one slide. Moving on to the next one. I'll let you read this next one.
All right. Next slide says, okay, you inherited a dating scene that's completely broken. Dating apps turned romance into a shopping cart. Ghosting is normal. Situationships are the standard. Commitment is feared like a disease. Everyone's talking, but no one's actually talking. You're out here trying to find love, and people are treating you like a Netflix subscription they can cancel any time. She ate with this one, baby. She ate with this one so bad. I kind of started off on the last one, so I'm gonna pass it.
Because like, there's parts of this that I feel, and there's absolutely parts that I don't, because I think my general orientation or my general approach to dating has kind of just been like, sometimes I dip my toe in, and other times I'm just like, it's all right, I'm fine. Probably because of what she's pointing to, like, the dating scene is broken. It brings me, though, to the thought that like dating and choosing your partner and like looking for all the characteristics and traits so that you can build a healthy home, that's a relatively new concept.
Yeah.
You didn't really, I mean, I don't know how long ago that practice stopped, and I know that in certain places of the world it's still ongoing. But typically, like, your parents were the ones that kind of situated the whole marriage institution. They found you someone, or they were
presented with an offer.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, and it's like if it was good, it was going to offer you security, and it was going to offer you
the family,
some
type of wealth
benefit.
Yeah.
Then that's how you got set up. So this idea that like, and not only that, like during that specific time or something like that was very common. Women also didn't have, rights, and we didn't have like we weren't a part of the workforce the way that we are now, where we can be the head of the household and or we can be the breadwinner, and so that scale has tipped a little bit, and so now you have more women that are like, I want a career first I want a career before I actually start thinking about a family. I want to have my set. And that's not to say that men don't also have that same thought process. It's just it seemed like from a societal point of view, it was always the expectation of a man to be able to do that.
Right.
And the woman was just supposed to take care of the home.
Right.
But now it's like the woman wants to be able to create and curate the home, but also be a boss.
Yes.
And I want that too. Like, growing up, I never was like, oh, I want to depend on my man for everything, or I want a partner that's just going to take care of me. I wanted to be able to have what I needed. So if things ever went left, I'm not going to be left feeling like stuck.
Yeah.
And like, oh crap, I have to stay in this relationship because he
is the breadwinner.
Yeah, he's taking care of everything.
Yeah.
And then just like, because I was so career focused, I didn't really prioritize dating. That doesn't mean I didn't have crushes and that people didn't express that they liked me for whatever reason. It just means I wasn't, like, it wasn't front of mind. And it also was kind of tricky to even like, are you flirting right now? Like, what is happening? Like, are we friends, or you want a little more? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I lifted this string in my face. In my experience too, like, I've not necessarily been the pursuer. I've been the pursued. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to that because when you are not the one that has, like, it's easy for me to like someone just because they like me and not really.
Oh yes, That's good.
Not really paying attention. Like, do I actually like this person?
You? That's good.
Yeah.
That's
so,
good.
I mean, now I'm able to recognize that now. But I think when I was younger, it was like, oh, like, well, he likes me, so I like him back.
Yeah.
Because it was nice to have the attention.
You like me? Yes or no?
Exactly. I did that. Like, I wrote those notes to people, and it's so cringe now. But at the time, it was just like, this was me being direct. Even though it's not. It's very indirect. But, like, it felt like I felt empowered because, like, I wrote that note, and I had a friend give it to you.
Yeah.
And now I'm waiting for you to give it back to me.
All the things are coming back. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great time.
Yeah. So, and then it's different, too, because speaking to, like, when you're going to school, when you're in college, you are, like, it's a curated space. So you're always going to be around people that are of your same age.
Yep.
And you can also kind of, like, shop around and see what the vibes are and what people are doing, the things that you like.
Yeah. Or
maybe you don't like it, but it's just, like, you find this person intriguing. But when you're an adult, you have to go out. Yeah. You have to, like, be very intentional.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that because I'm no longer in a space now where I'm going to be in the same place every day with people that are of my age, maybe have, the same kind of ideas about things that I do on a regular basis. Excuse me. The process of having to put myself out there. And the only way that I have been doing that was through dating apps. And it's like everything else, there's pros and cons, there's positives and negatives. Everyone is putting on a representative to some degree. Yeah. But like, I'm a slow burner too. So it's just like I want to start with friendship, but also it's like we could also just be friends. Like I don't think you have to match with everybody and be like, oh, this is a romantic connection, or oh, I want to be seeking a romantic connection with this person. It could literally just be like, I like the way that you think. We don't always agree. We have different points of view. But like I enjoy talking with you and like getting to know your brain and things of that nature. And so I'm happy to continue exploring that. And then if it ever became like, you know what? I also think you look damn good. Or maybe I've always think you looked damn good. Yeah. But like it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. I'm just like, let me just get to know the person. Yeah. But it's so difficult because like she's saying, like you can just swap people out. Yes. Like anytime. Yep. And not that you owe people everything, but it's just
it's a way to do it.
Where is the communication about what and
really to me it ends up being a value of person. Like a general value of person.
Say more.
So one thing, so you said a number of things that I would like to touch on. When I read this, I automatically thought about the conversation that we were having on our walk that one day, and you kind of touched on it about the fact that like dating in the concept that we know it as is relatively new. Yeah. And so we are kind of in a new environment that I don't think we're realizing how new it is. Right. And so we're actively figuring out what does this look like? Right. What does this actually mean? And so there's that, and so you kind of touched on that, and that was something I was thinking about. There are a few things that I see here when in this slide in this slide. It's a few things I see here. One is that like when she talks about the dating apps and turning romance into a shopping cart, and kind of talking about what you said around like there are so many options that then people are kind of just like. And when I'm saying value of person or lack thereof, because you have so many options and it's essentially at your fingertips because these dating apps are on your phones now. Right. You can just swipe every day. You can swipe and swipe and swipe, and you may be somebody who has an overwhelming amount of matches, or you may be someone who is not necessarily matching often. Right. But like. There are just all of these. I mean, each dating app, you may see some of the same people. You may not. So there are all of these different options. And so then when you do meet a person, you're communicating. Maybe you go on a couple dates. I do think that the fact that like, well, I can go on this dating app and just find a new person creates this, not entitlement, but like, this thing of it just creates a lack of value for the person that is sitting in front of your face. You're not appreciating the fact that like, okay, this person got dressed up to come out here. Like I got dressed up to come out. Like we intentionally decided that we were going to go do a thing and sit down and see each other in the midst of whatever else we have going on. If we are people who do got things going on, right? Like this was curated intentionally, but because of all the options and because of how many dates maybe such and such has been on, they're just looking at it as just another Netflix. This is just another Netflix movie, and I can turn it off whenever I want to if I don't like how it's going. Yeah. And while yes, you do not have to stay in something that you don't like or that it's not working for you. However, we are people. So this is not like just a show. This is a person. And if you have any intention around who you match or who you like decide to choose to like, swipe right on, then it's like you're not. I mean, hopefully, I know that there are some people who do this. They just swipe right on everybody, or they just swipe right. They like whatever. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the cookie crumbles. Yeah. But like. Ideally, people are getting on here and you are looking at the profile. You're considering at least some of the factors. Yeah. And you are like, okay, I would be open to talking to this person and seeing how it goes. Yeah. So imagine being somebody going in open to seeing how it goes, and then you're sitting across from somebody who's kind of just like, I swiped right on everybody. I just kind of see what was happening, and if I don't like something you say, or if I don't like how you did this, or if I don't like this, that, the other, as soon as a small thing happens, I'm not gonna even say anything. I'm not gonna communicate it with you. I'm just gonna not say nothing to you. You know. And so when she talks about the ghosting part, you know, I think the whole topic around ghosting is really interesting because it definitely comes up a lot in the dating scene, but I do think it happens outside of the dating scene as well.
Oh, for sure.
And I also think that there are levels to this idea of ghosting, right? Like, and so what it, and obviously it is a negative communication tactic. That's how I guess I would describe it in a sense. It's like you didn't communicate that you didn't want to talk anymore, or you didn't communicate that, like, basically, yeah, you didn't communicate you didn't want to talk no more. Yeah. You just never said anything. And so maybe you never reached out and I never reached out, so maybe we're both looking at each other like we ghosted each other. Or I'm texting you and you never reply. So you've ghosted me, right? I guess a question that I have is like, if you meet somebody on a dating app, you're texting a little, and at some point you never met in person, but they stopped texting you. Technically, we're looking at that as ghosting. However, is that a situation where it's like, well, am I upset about that, or do I still want some type of communication? And I think that ends up being a person to person thing. I think some folks are like, I don't really care. We never even met. It is what it is. Yeah. Whereas I it wouldn't like make me super upset, but I would prefer you to just say, hey, I don't think this is gonna work out. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. Like, we ain't got to go back and forth about it. This doesn't have to be a whole thing, but then I can know, oh, okay, I'm not gonna text you. I'll delete your number or whatever, and we move forward.
But that's when I get into the, well, why even bother? Because like, now I gotta and it's not like you tell your whole story to anybody that you are matching with on a dating app, or that you do meet for the first time if it happens in person. But it's just like the process of like being in a talking stage and having to start those conversations over. It's just like, the same things over again. I would rather just like the way that it happens in romances, even though like that's obviously what is it, like, amplified and it's a specific kind of packaging, that there are elements to that are real, but then not, but like, if you want me, just tell me. And then like consistently do things that show me that you want me. Like, and the want, again, doesn't have to be sexual, it doesn't always have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be romantic. It's just like, if you care to continue connecting and interacting with me, then you should just be you should just be about it. Like, I shouldn't have to question it. Exactly. And it goes the same way. And I have also operated from the, like, I will return the energy that I receive. Absolutely. So if you're being very nonchalant and laid back, I'm going to be nonchalant and laid back. Because what I look like being all like, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you just like, I mean, bro, maybe that could be your personality. Like, maybe you are just more nonchalant. And so, like, if that's something I recognize and I understand, then okay, fine. But, so that's why I was just like, I go back and forth with it. But I'm not, like I said, I think what she's bringing up is valid. And it goes back to what you were saying about, like, valuing people. And at the same time, too, like, not every interaction is going to lead to a connection either. So I think that's a realistic expectation to have either. They're like, oh, you're going to be locked in with this person in any regard. It could have just been like, y'all had a cool conversation and that's the end of it. Like, you just had a cool conversation.
Absolutely.
And that's true. That's okay. It's okay to, like, to accept that and be fine with that as well. But I think if you're operating in a way where, like, that you want to be in a long-term relationship and you are engaging with someone that you really think this could go well, then I think you should just be upfront and consistent about how you feel and continue to express that. And if the other person is not really, maybe they're not on the same level as you, they can express that. Like,
Yes.
I love and I really appreciate that you're so forthcoming about how you feel and you express that to me. And I want you to continue to do that. And it's just like, I like you, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I already said, like, I burn a little slower. And I feel like it, more often than not, whatever the match ends up being, the people, they like compliment each other. So, like, you're going to have one that's more like, ha, and then you're going to have one that's more like, you know what I'm saying? And they make it work because of the communication, the honesty, what have you. But, I mean, it takes time to get to that. And obviously, like, if you are going out more often than not, you are in physical spaces and places to meet and connect with people, you are going to start seeing some of the same people over and over again, the same way that you see some of the same people over and over again on the apps. But now it's like, depending on what the context is, you're seeing them in different contexts, and that's giving you insight into, well, like, I keep seeing this person, we've had a couple conversations, and it's just like, I find them intriguing, I want to know more. So now you could be like, hey, no pressure, but like, I've seen you a couple times here and there, and I've really enjoyed any of the interactions that we've had. Like, would you like to sit down and have, like, go for dinner, or like go on a hike, or whatever the case may be, and then take it from there, and then just like build a bond, really, and then see where that goes, and then obviously being honest about the feelings.
Where you are. And I think too, as you were talking, one thing I was thinking about, as well as reviewing the slide, is like, the honesty you provide to somebody else, you got to be honest with yourself first. You have to be able to kind of do some analysis of, like, where are you? Like, are you ready to date? Do you want to date? Do you want, like she said, commitment is feared like a disease. Some people don't want commitment for various reasons, right? Like, being able to know that about yourself, and you lead with that. Like, okay, like, if I'm not somebody who wants to date exclusively, I'm not really trying to be committed right now. I'm more of an open flow type of person. That's kind of the time I'm on. So then you let people be able to say, okay, well, yeah, that ain't really my vibe. Or, okay, like, I don't really mind that, right? Like, so I think there's also a part of that that's like, being able to, like, you got to ask yourself and be for real with yourself. And then move accordingly. Based on my own experience with these apps, one thing that I personally have come across quite often, as well as friends who also are on the apps who have communicated this with me, is that the people they're matching with are not honest about what their intentions are. And what they want. And therefore, and down to the way that they set up their profiles. They're setting up their profiles to pull in certain types of women, in my case, certain types of women, because they don't want the women who would align with where they are, which is a whole nother conversation, right? But that is a thing. And so when I'm talking about being honest with yourself, I'm also recognizing that I realize you can be honest with yourself, and it could be somebody on the other end of the phone lying about what they want, not being honest about what they want because of their own selfish desires. So I do want to say that. Just the last part is around the situationships. I think it goes back to what you were talking about in regards to communication. You're not in a situationship. You're not in a situationship overnight. You're not in a situationship because you have to be. Likely you're in a situationship because you're not communicating. Y'all not communicating about what it is y'all want. Or y'all want different things, but y'all won't leave each other alone. And so then it's like, there's no real decision made. We continue to spend time together or mess around or whatever, but I want this and they want this, or they want this and I want this, but we're not willing to do what's necessary to either show up or go our separate ways.
And I think some people are also just scared to do so. Like, if they've been burned so many times before,
that's a good point too.
They're like, okay, I'm gonna take all of the benefits from this, and I'm not gonna worry about defining anything or clearing anything up. Like, well, I'll just ride this wave. And then the second where it becomes like that is that first moment of tension where it's just like, we're not on the same page. That's when they'll be like, oh I'm going to charge you here. Because like, oh, no, you want to talk?
Yeah, right. No, we not supposed to do that.
We were doing fine until you said, let's
that
talk.
Part,
no, we don't have to do that, honey.
It's not that serious.
It's not. It's really not that deep. It's really not that deep. So, but it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So, on some level, they're being honest with themselves because they're afraid, but they're not willing to like you said, do what it takes to move through that. Yeah. You know, or take a chance on this person. Right. Because sometimes you will specifically end up in. I don't even think people end up in a situationship. I think it's like you choose it, like, or you just allow it because
you allow it.
You allow it because again, like, you may have been scorned before, and so you're afraid to take that risk, or you know you're not really messing with somebody that's aligned with you, but it's like it's just okay. You're just trying to get over the last thing, and it's just like, honey, just be single, please. Yeah. Just take your time, do your healing, please, and you can heal in relationship as well.
Yes, you can.
But that doesn't mean the next person that comes along, you immediately want to tie them down. No. It's like, just be friends, just have a good
give it
hang
time.
out. You know what I'm saying? And like ease into it. You don't always have to be like, I'm falling in love fast and I want to lock you down. Like, that's scary, actually.
Yeah. Give it time. Give it time. And also think about, I think the last one thing with this, because we talked about the fact that this realm of dating that we're in is a new thing. Yeah. What is a girlfriend to you? What is a boyfriend to you? What does a partner mean to you? What do those things look like? Because since this is a new realm, I think a lot of us are like going based off of what we've seen in movies, right? And like, you know, like media, and that's not necessarily, that's not always the right thing to go based off of. And so I think that like we really need to be asking ourselves that question. Right. If you're somebody who wants to be married, what does it look like to be, what is the difference between I'm in a relationship with somebody but we're not married, we're boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, versus like I am in a marriage, and like what are the differences? Are there differences for you? What does the commitment levels look like? Right. I think that we need to be intentional about thinking about that and really like sitting with that, because sometimes folks get in these relationships and they're moving like they're married. And it's like you're adding unnecessary pressure. And I am guilty of that. And I just think, you know, like, you don't have to be cooking 4-course meals for somebody that you're just dating. Not right away. You don't have to do that. Like, I think you can reserve some of that for like later on in the relationship. You know, you don't need to be doing nobody's laundry. Like, that's not necessary. Like, what does it look like to you're exclusively dating, you're in a relationship. What does that look like? What are the things you expect in that? You know, and it doesn't have to be anything super deep, super extravagant. And this is just about boundaries, and it's about being realistic. It's also about what are things you can do to make sure that like you're going through these experiences and you're learning something while also maintaining a sense of safety for your heart and like your emotions as much as possible. So yeah, sure. That's my thoughts on that. You want to move to the
There are just two more slides. Yeah, we can move to the next one. So it says, the job market wants a decade of experience from someone who just turned 25. Entry-level role, must have 10 years of experience, 3 references, a portfolio, a personal brand, and the ability to work under pressure while we pay you peanuts and call it exposure. You haven't even been alive long enough to have 10 years of anything. But sure, let's add that to the requirements.
Yeah. This is absolutely so true.
Yeah.
This is absolutely so true. Being somebody who, even out of grad school, looking at these, looking at the applications, and they're being like, you need 5 years of experience, 7 years of experience, and they're not counting your time in school.
No, yeah.
They're not counting it. Mm-mm. So it's kind of like, how would I have this? I was in school. Like, I was in school. So technically this should be counted as my experience.
Right.
And y'all not counting it as my experience. And then also being someone who, like, a younger person once I did get in my first position, and there was space to move up, and even when the opportunity was there, they didn't really want to provide me the training and the development tools to be able to be in that position and effectively do it. I know I could have done it. Now, in retrospect, I recognize that, like, there was definitely some training and development that I definitely needed. This was a business that had the funds if they really cared about developing me, within that role, with just in general. Yeah. There could have been some investment. Yeah. And it wasn't. And I found that just even in conversations with friends that it's kind of like they just want you already ready to go. They're not interested in prepping you and training you and developing you and too much of nothing. They want you to come in and just be able to do the thing. And that is really keeping a lot of young professionals, that gets in our way. And then it makes us have to go figure it out through these other avenues. But it's also like, I think the businesses are missing a really good opportunity. Because if you are willing to take some young people and invest in them, develop them, train them, it doesn't only create a great employee or whatever for your business, it also creates a sense of loyalty. And so when we think about the older generations and they're like, yeah, I worked at this place for 50 years, and we're kind of like, bruh, why would I want to do that? I do think that, like, there could be an argument, not to say that this is definitely the case, but if I go into a place, they let me start at entry level. They're like, hey, we have these opportunities to develop you, to train you, to go into this position. There's going to be a level of respect and loyalty over time that I'm going to have for them that may keep me there a little longer. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they be playing us.
But not only not counting the experience when you're in school, but also not counting the internship. Yeah. Either. And if it is, it's not paid experience. So you end up with maybe adding to your skill set. Right. But it's not enough for you to put it on your resume and for them to be like, yeah, you're the candidate that I'm going to hire for this position. Yep. And I do think now more internships are offering you some kind of payment or compensation, whether it's through a living stipend or if they're just paying you a lower wage. But it's basically what you said, like the lack of investment in your team and your employees. And I think that is something that other generations can speak to, is that there were a lot more benefits or a lot more privileges, like the pensions and things like that, incentives, so that you would stay loyal to the company. And I think maybe there's less incentivization now because there's also this expectation that, especially with like the youngest generation right now, that is working, which is Gen Z, there's this expectation that you're just going to job hop anyway. So it's like, why would I invest my time? But it's just like, it's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing. Like if you're not willing to invest in the people that are, help facilitating your company in order for you to offer a service or make a product, and then people aren't incentivized to stay loyal to the company for whatever reason, then of course you're going to have a fluctuating workforce, and your people are going to struggle more often with navigating the job market. And then there's also too, like, it seems like the degrees don't even have the the pool that they once had. Is like, because you can have a degree, but if you don't have because there is a difference between academia and like being in the field. Absolutely. Like academia is very much theoretical, depending on what. Well, I think it does apply to every field of study, but I think specifically for the helping professions, there's like the theory of something and how to explain a phenomenon, and then in the field it's more political. Like it's less about meeting people's needs, meeting people where they are, or even understanding how the theory may apply, or trying to, and in the field, a lot of the time they're trying to like make people fit into a mold, like especially with Medicaid, like in order to see a therapist, oftentimes insurance companies will limit how often you can actually see a therapist, and then you the therapist has to put in a diagnosis in order for Medicaid to reimburse them. And I'm just like, sometimes you just need someone to talk to help you navigate and like compartmentalize and just kind of like assess and process everything that you're feeling and thinking. Well, not maybe not everything, but like whatever is primary, whatever the presenting issue is for you. And that does not necessarily require you to pathologize their behavior and say like, this is a pathology of behavior, there's a specific pattern. In some cases that's true. In some cases that's true, and that's helpful, because for some people it may be like, I really don't even know why I do the things that I do. I keep finding myself in this pattern, in this cycle. I want to break it, but I don't know how. And then it's like, oh, actually, you got ADHD. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Like, and not to say like people that have ADHD don't typically know that they have ADHD. I'm just using that as an example. Right. But and that's often a diagnosis, especially in the Black community, that's underdiagnosed. Or it can be the opposite. It can be overdiagnosed. Right. Because anytime a child is just like not doing what you expect a child to do, what do you really expect anyone between the ages of like 5 and 12? Like what self-control do you expect a 5 to 12-year-old to have? Exactly. They're 5 to 12. Like this part of the brain very much not developed. Elastic. And even if they do present in a way where they're like a little bit more, they seem mature for their age. It's just like they're still a kid, bro. Like these adult expectations that you're putting on a child is really weird. Stop moving like that. But I digress. So it's really just imbalance, and I think it's more of like this imposition of, we the generations have to consistently adapt to the context that we're living in, but the context isn't changing, and I think both needs to be happening. Like we as social workers have learned about person and environment theory, and essentially that theory says you are as much influenced by your environment as you influence your environment. Right. And if that influence is not shaping and revolutionizing the context of what you're operating in, then you're gonna brick walls. You're gonna keep running into them, and that's really unfair to young professionals. It's really unfair to the developing workforce, because like those of us that are already in it, no matter what our positions are, we are going to age out of it, and then you have a new generation being ushered in. And if we keep trying to impose the same kind of standards, expectations on each new generation, it's not gonna get better. It's only gonna get worse. Right. So, and then the market falls apart, and then what are you going to do? Yep. So that's that. Yep.
All right. And then I think that, our last slide. So this one reads, you're expected to have a personal brand just to exist. It's not enough to have a job anymore. You need a side hustle, a LinkedIn profile, a polished Instagram, a portfolio, a network. You're supposed to be your own marketing team while also trying to live. When did existing become a full-time performance?
I would say, to answer the question directly, I would say probably with the introduction of social media.
My answer exactly.
Yeah, I think it's not to say that still wasn't a thing prior to, but I think because we now have more access to see many different things all over the world, I think that's a part of why being, and you don't necessarily have to be on social media if you don't want to be, but like more and more now, I think jobs are looking at your social media presence, especially when there have been examples of people that they act one way online, and sometimes the way that they're acting online is very problematic. It's very hateful. And so then they get doxxed, because it's just like, oh, So this is what you're doing on your socials when you're not on company time.
Mm-hmm.
Fired.
Mm-hmm.
Terminated.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to associate.
Mm-hmm.
And then specifically too, if you're an influencer or a content creator, you have to maintain a specific reputation or brand in order to get connected to brands to, market their products. And it's just so consumptive. Like it's like it removes almost the sacredness or like the value behind things. Cause it's like I was watching a commercial. I was watching a YouTube podcast or something, and a commercial came on, and it was it was a Pepsi commercial. But you know how like in the Coca-Cola commercials they use like a polar bear.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 polar bears in this commercial, and the polar bear had drank a Pepsi, and this was like he was like, oh, like wow, because usually like Coca-Cola was their soda of choice, and I was just like, you see, now that's good marketing. Like that's how
funny.
you do it. Like that's how you do it. Because some of these commercials, bruh, are so dumb, and I'm just like, this had to go through several channels, several meetings, and this is the best y'all could come up with. It's like, do you really think this? Yes, it's like. It's more about like attention than it is, because not every time you get eyes on something is it going to translate into sales, is it going to translate into any kind of deeper connection or engagement. So I'm just like, who's this for? Yeah. When I see some ads, I'm just like, who was this for? Because if I was in that boardroom, I'd be like, are y'all sure?
Are you
okay?
serious?
Like, this is what we're doing.
Go back to the drawing
Like,
board.
come on now. So I do think the advent of social media definitely has contributed to this move towards feeling like you have to put on a full-time performance.
Yeah.
And manage a brand to get your foot in the door, or to even like for someone to even give you the time of day to even make your elevator pitch for why them working for your company or them working for your organization would be an asset to you and to them.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely started with social media, and I think that like when she touches on like you need a portfolio, you need a network. I think that there are certain jobs, as you touched on, that those things were always necessary. If you were modeling, if you were someone who is a singer, there's a creative medium that you're using that you want to be your main source of income or whatever. You do need those things. I think social media created this space where everybody feels like and thinks that they have to maintain and show up like they are celebrities, like they are the it people of whatever, even if they're not, even if that's not even something that you own. Like you're maybe like you got a good job at a government building, or like I don't know, you just got like not one of those jobs that's like in the headlines, but yet now you're made to feel like, oh, you got to make a TikTok that's based on your job, and it has to be fly because other people who are interested in this job you want them to come to you to see what it's like to be this in this position. And it's like, you never was trying to do all that. You just you went to school, you got the degree, you got the job, you was just got a good job, it's paying your bills, it's taking care of your family. That's all you was trying to do. And now it's like, no, I need to also make it my personality. And I need to build a thing around it. Because like, why wouldn't I? Because that's like, I mean, that's how you get the deals, or that's how you can become somebody. People will know you. You'll go viral. And it's like, it's okay to not go viral. It's okay to not be known by everybody. It's okay for everybody to not know your name or your IG handle or whatever.
You to know where everybody knows your name.
I think that there's like this, and all of it is based off of like this false idea of what fame is versus the reality of fame. Usually when we talk to people or when we hear from people who are famous, they're like, no, it's a no for me, dog. You feel like they're not like all up in it, and they don't like, because of the reality of it, like, you know what I'm saying? There's this hyper surveillance. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we're definitely living in this space now where everybody has phones and they pull their phone out for anything. And we've seen how it impacts, like, well, and I know you're not like a club girly, but like even in the clubs, I mean, we've seen this time and time again, there's conversations around how like people go to the clubs and they don't dance. They just stand around and look. And I do think a part of it is because people are nervous to be caught on camera doing something silly, something stupid, right? Yeah. So then when you hear from like older generations, they like, I'm so glad that the cameras didn't exist back in the day, because I would be on camera looking crazy because we was back in there sweating and dancing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like everybody is so caught up on like being seen and also being caught in the wrong way. So now it's editing even who we are in real life, because there's this, we're taking the polished picture and trying to apply it to real life. I need to be polished, and I need to be, and there are certain people who are like singers and dancers. They talk about you got to be on. Actors, you got to be on, right? When you're in front of the camera, when you're doing the interviews, you got to be on. Everybody ain't got to be on, but now it feels like everybody got to be on. Yeah. It's not good, because everybody not meant to do that. Right. There are people who are made to handle that, and they're in the positions that they're in. Understand, and there's training that has gone into that. There are classes that people have taken to prepare them to be on and to show up in a way. Yeah. Mentally, just regular, regular, that's not good for everybody's mental to have to feel that way. It's true. So I think that I say all that to say, it's just
slow it down.
Yeah, y'all don't have to be on. Put the phones down. Talk to people in person. Yeah, like you do not have to be on all the time. And when you're not on, remember you're just human. You're a human person. You're not perfect. So like, there's that. None of us are. Even the people who have been trained to do the things to be on, they're not perfect either. But like, everybody is not a celebrity. And not like, I say this, sweetie, I say this with the most love in my heart for you. It's okay to not be a celebrity.
It's okay to be mediocre.
Or just dang, E. Mediocre. Yeah. You ain't gotta say that.
It's the truth.
That sound bad.
It's not.
Mediocre sound. I don't even want to be mediocre.
What's mediocre mean?
That just sound unappealing. Boring. It sounds boring. You can be exciting.
Those are two different words.
Okay. Definition time.
Boring and mediocre are two different words.
What does mediocre mean?
Mediocre. I put metaphor. Mediocre. Oh my God.
Metaphor.
Metaphor. That's what I spelled. Okay. So according to Merriam-Webster. Oh.
Go ahead and tell us. The O is what's taking me out. Read it. Let us know what it means.
It says of moderate or low quality, value, ability, or performance. Yeah. Ordinary. So I revised my previous statement, and I'll say it's okay to be ordinary.
Okay.
Yeah, ordinary.
Yes. Ordinary. Yeah. It's all right to be ordinary. And it doesn't make you unimportant in your world and in your realm of things. But like, we got to get away from this idea that we have to be celebs.
But isn't that the means of competition though? Like, you have to be better than the person that comes before you, or you have to be better than the person beside you in order to get ahead. Like, that's the whole point of competition. And America's a very capitalistic, competitive society. Yeah. So, like, yes, it's okay to be ordinary, but depending on what your level of success is.
So, let's fix it then.
You gotta.
It is okay to want an ordinary life if that's what you want. It's okay to want an ordinary life if that is what you want. If you just want to go to work, you don't want the extravagant things. You're not pressed with creating fancy pages and stuff like that. That is okay. And it's also okay to want the things. It's also okay to want to be known. It's also okay to strive for fame.
There's room for all of it.
Right. There's room for all of it, but if you're not somebody who wants that, you do not have to give into it. You don't have to have the portfolio. You don't have to have an extravagant Instagram page. You don't have to, it doesn't have to match and be colorful. If that's not what you want, you ain't got to do it, babe. So there's that.
X.
Yeah.
No brainer. You ready for evolving and about it?
Yes. Okay. This is a segment that we introduced in our last season, Evolving and Unbothered. So basically, we give one another 1 minute to rant about something that just really grinds our gears. And we only have 1 minute, and then we have some space at the end to kind of give more context to why it gets on our nerves and what gets on our nerves about it. Recognizing that, you know, it gets on our nerves now, but hopefully at some point in our life, we'll be unbothered. But right now, we are bothered.
Very much so.
Today. We bothered today.
So just for context, because I don't want to have to say this as a part of my minute and then lose time, I'm going to tell a story. And this has to do with like a tangible example of like a macro aggression that I received from someone who was a part of like my medical team. So just for context. Okay, the timer is starting now. Okay, so when I was around 15, 16, I went to this school to be a part of this demonstration. I was working with like an occupational therapist or like a physical therapist to help me with learning how to properly wrap my leg so I could help reduce the swelling in my left leg because I have lymphedema. And during the preparation stage of that session, she was like wiping my leg down to like clear off any excess oil and then using like alcohol pads in between my toes. And when she started cleaning between my toes, she was like, "Oh, you're so clean." And I was just like, "Okay, say more." And then she was like, "Yeah, it's just because like with other patients that I've worked with, they're usually a little heavy set and the swelling can be a little bit more out of control. So, you know, they don't have the flexibility to clean in between their toes." And I was just like, "But I'm not heavy set. So are you saying that you think Black people are just unclean?" And yeah, it baffled me. It baffles me now, but at the time it was just like, that's a reasonable explanation, but it doesn't quite match up. And that's my time.
Good job. You ate that. You ate that. I cannot stand. Also, thank you, Ebony, because she actually reminded me of this, and I really cannot stand it. Automated robots on the phone in any situation is the bane of my existence. I cannot stand it. I'm going to hit 0. As soon as I can hit 0, I need to talk to a person. Where are the people? Where are the regular people who can give me what I need? I don't want to talk to a robot. I don't want to keep being told to press 3 or 5 or 7. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I want y'all to change it. Bring the people back. Put somebody on the phone with some good customer service. I know the argument will be, well, you know, and more equitable. Okay, equitable. Is it though? You can just train somebody. Get somebody with some good customer service and we can be on our way. Turn off the robots.
And that is your time.
I'm sick. They get on my nerves.
Turn off the robot.
They get on my nerves.
So is there any more context you want to provide for yours?
They just get on my nerves. And I was in a conversation. I was at a conference, and somehow this came up. And there was one person in my group who was like, well, you know, and she challenged it, which it was fine. Like, it was a nice little challenge back. She was, and I forget exactly what the challenge was, but she was like, well, you know, do you know why people, why they have moved to a more robotic, whatever? And I'm like, well, I'm sure it has to do with, customer service and, probably when you're talking to a person. I think we've all probably been on a phone call with somebody who did not have good customer service, who should not have been answering phones, right? And so you kind of are removing that potential issue of human error or human indecency, I suppose. But, when I'm on this phone and there's this robot, and what if the option is not there, and then it takes me 7 options to get to 0 to talk to somebody, or you don't even give me the option, you want me to say what I need, and it's this is a robot, and they won't give me what I need, and I want to talk to a regular person. Yeah. I want to talk to an operator. I want to talk to the operator. I do not want to talk to the robot, and I would just want you to get me there. And I don't want to push no more buttons. You know? Or when it's like, can you put in your account number or something? Now, some of their softwares give you enough time. But some of them do not give you enough time.
I did not quite get that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I'm looking for the number. Give me a second. You know? If I was talking to a person, I'd be able to say, 1 second, Bill. Let me find the number. But you want the social. Yeah. Maybe I don't know the social. So now I'm trying to find the social. And then you gave me 2 seconds. And now you like, oh, well, we didn't get it. We did not collect those tries. Please go back to the main menu. And then sometimes it'll hang up. It'll disconnect the call. Then you gotta start over. And now I gotta push all the buttons that I was pushing before to get to this point. It's just...
Yeah. It's not...
I had to deal with that last week.
It's not efficient. It's really
not.
And I think that was maybe the rationale for the move. And maybe also, too, like, some people call and they're very disrespectful to those calls.
And that is true, too.
And those calls are recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. They let you know... They let you know as soon as you get on the call
that you being recorded.
So it's just like some people. I imagine like if I was working at a call center and I was talking to someone and it was just like particularly difficult. Whatever button I gotta press to play back the conversation, I'm like, you know what? I don't like the way that you're speaking to me right now, and I just want you to. I just want you to hear
how I'm
it.
hearing you.
Here you go. And then let the recording play back. And then once the recording was done, click.
That's so bad.
You're going to have to, exactly. You have to call right back in and start over.
No, that's valid.
And hopefully you got your attitude together.
No, and that's valid because I do understand, like, there are people who are just nasty. Yeah. Not nice people.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, when you are in a space of, like, customer service, anything, people, and I feel like I think I told you about me getting cussed out at McDonald's when I worked at McDonald's for my first job by a grown A-word man.
Yeah.
And, like... I think about that still to this day. It wasn't even his $100 bill. It was his friend's $100 bill. And he just tried to switch it out. He tried to switch it at the last second. And it was like, well, the $100 bill is already in the safe because that's policy. Mm-hmm. If somebody gives you a $100 bill, you had to put it in the safe immediately.
Right.
Because we was in the hood. You feel me? So, like, you got to do that. That's safety, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, he wanted to change it. And it's like the $100 bills. And he's going in on me, bro. Oh. Going in on me. And I'm just standing there looking. Because it's like, I already told you I can't get it back.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah.
This is about $100 bill that's not even yours. I mean, this is about change. You want me to exchange the change or whatever about some. You're not even the one making the order. Your friend is. And now you going off on a 16-year-old at the time about this, and you're overgrown. You overgrown. His friend is like, bro, just chill, bro.
Yeah,
like,
it's okay.
Going in on me, bro.
He had a hard day.
I did too.
It was something else going on.
I couldn't believe it. Like, do I remind you of somebody or something? Like, you just dogged me, bro. Yeah. And here's the reason why I will not work in food service again. So I say all that to say, you know, customer service, like, people really will do you. Like, they will just say anything to you and treat you any type of way just because you're at work.
Yeah.
And like, it's like this thing where they just feel like they can just.
They want you to maintain professionalism.
Yeah, but like, they being disrespectful.
Okay, first of all, I'm not this job.
This job is not me.
Exactly. I'm a person. You see this name tag? You know my name.
Exactly.
So she comes first always. And you're talking to me crazy. So if you want me to, I can refuse service to you, sir. Okay?
Crazy.
You don't have to get nothing. You don't have to get nothing. And also, really be kind to food service workers.
Man.
Because they're handling
your food, bro,
that you came for.
Your food.
So, and you just never know.
Your food.
Never know. I'm not gonna assume that anybody that works in food service is doing.
No, you don't assume, but we know that they do. But we know people do.
It's always a possibility.
We know people do.
So, and that includes your delivery drivers as well.
Yeah, man. Don't be nasty.
Because even though we didn't handle the food, we're handling it to get it to you.
Yeah, be respectful,
so
bro.
be respectful.
Be respectful.
There's a way to be direct and still be kind.
Yeah, you ain't even got to be, and you don't got to be that way.
Because literally, this happened the other night. I was dashing Somebody, I literally just picked up the food, and I was on time. Like I had to pick it up by like 8:51 or whatever, and I literally like hit the picture, hit like confirm. It was 8:51. Is my food coming?
And you just got the notification that I picked it up.
And so I was like, my reply was like, picked up the food on time as estimated in the app. Because I'm just like, bro, chill. If you was that hungry and if you wanted it that soon, you could have drove here and picked it up. You could have. The DoorDash has a pickup option. You don't always have to hit delivery.
Yeah.
You know, so if you wanted it as soon as possible, you might want to use that feature. Yeah. Every once in a while.
Yeah, man. No, for real. Cause like, be nicer though. Yeah, like y'all need to be nice to y'all customer service people. Well, did you want to add anything about yours? We kind of went in the direction.
I mean, no, not really. It's just like I said in the beginning, tangible example of a macroaggression. Because, like, again, her reasoning didn't make sense in the context of what she was referencing it. Because it's like, I'm not a big person.
Right.
And you literally had me, like, bend over. So you saw that I'm flexible. Yeah. So it's just like, again, are you saying this because I'm black? Do you assume that black people are not clean? Like, yeah. Because your reference didn't fit the situation.
At all. At all.
And so sometimes, like, the way that you come back to that moment where that man was cussing you out, I go back to that moment, like, in a room full of white people. Yeah. I'm the only black person here. I'm the youngest here, because, again, I was, like, 15, 16, and I'm with a bunch of college students, and then this physical therapist. So I'm just, like, I think my mom was there, too. So, yeah, we were the only black people in that room, and I have to ask my mom about it. It's like, do you remember when that happened? Yeah. I wonder how she thought about it. Because it's just like, what the hell are you trying to say?
Yeah. The micro and macroaggressions definitely be them. It definitely be moments. I feel like in the moments where I have experienced them, either in the moment I'm like, and then I try to assume good intent. So I'm like, I hope that you didn't mean it that way. But sometimes it's hard. It's hard. In a recent conversation that I had with somebody, I had just met this person, and I was kind of talking about some of the things that like I was doing or had done, and this was a white person, this was a white man, and he responded, "You're one of the good ones." And I do think my face responded a little bit, even though I tried to kind of, because I did, like, I'm like, yeah, good people. I am a good person. Yes. And I'd hope that there are more good people than, and so he kind of fixed it a little bit. Yeah. He kind of fixed it a little bit, probably based on me having a facial response.
Your facial expression.
But it's hard to not wonder, like, did you mean, like, what did you mean?
No, like, it's like, what did you mean?
What did you mean?
Like, what are you actually trying to say?
Yeah.
Because that's not it.
Right.
That is not portraying the message you think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, with that being said, what are your takeaways from this conversation, Glow?
Oh.
The in-between. How does it feel? That's the wrong song this season.
What are my takeaways? I think one takeaway is that remembering humanity. We're all human, and we are actively up against various things that are going on, whether it's personal, whether it's community, neighborhood-wise, whether it's globally. All of those things have an impact on our mind, how we feel about certain things. And that's valid because essentially that is just that's a reality of living, right? Like, and so I think I guess a takeaway for me and something I've been sitting with even before this podcast is like taking the time to step back and think about how do I define things and why do I define them that way? Where did I get it from? And is it accurate to me? And if not, reframing, redefining. Also, when it comes to like the economy and all the things going on around us, maintaining a sense of like, I want to be in the know. I'm not going to overdo it because I recognize that like I'm still alive and I still got to wake up every day and try to find the joy and try to find a reason. And being alive is hard enough, and so you add bills and all of these other things. And the reality that what we talked about of like people being one paycheck away from like, you know what I'm saying? So still choosing to live, still choosing to be young and youthful and enjoy it, even in all of whatever this is, because like none of us, you said this before, none of us asked to be here, right? But we're here now, and so like, what are we gonna do with it? And I think that while there are so many frustrations, especially frustrations that our age group has with just things we've been told and the reality of what we're living in, I also think there are so many pros to us being young and being young in this time and having certain accesses that were not given to previous generations and being the answer, figuring out solutions that are not just solutions, but that are solutions that are good for people even after us. I do think that our generation, because of, how previous generations handled things, we're kind of like, bro, like, we getting left with a lot. Like it feels like we're getting handed a bunch of BS, and then then they're telling us like, when y'all get old, it ain't gonna be no Social Security. So it's like, dang, what you leaving us with, right? So now we got to think about like, how we gonna take care of ourselves, right? And so I think that helps us then think about like, how do I make this a good thing, not just for me, but even the people who come after me, so that they don't feel how we feel. And so I do think that we're more tapped in emotionally. Than generations before us in a way that I do think will be good. And I think that like as we get older, we'll be able to really provide some wisdom and some insight, and we will understand the importance of moving out the way when it's time to let the next generation do their thing. Because I think that that's a mindset that previous generations haven't really done too good at all the way. Getting out of the way. And having this feeling or this thought that like, well, you're young, you don't know anything. Yeah. And I think obviously we can agree. I think a number of us can agree. There is wisdom in being older, and you've lived this life. You have things you can contribute, right? But it does not mean that me being younger means that I'm completely out of the conversation and I have nothing to offer. Yeah. And so I think that we have that perspective now, and I don't think we'll lose that. And I also feel as though we'll be better at communicating it and saying, hey, like keep us up to date. We want to know the things, but also these are the things we learned. This is some of the stuff we went through. These are some of the things that was going on when we were going through this. Use it, take it, ask us questions. Also, we're open to learning. Yeah. So like, and that might be a very major optimistic thing, but I do think that our generation can heavily see what could have been done differently as far as like passing down information, sharing information, and just letting somebody who has a new perspective lead.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that in summation is navigating the in-between puts us in a unique position to navigate the in-between. Like it can be as much of a frustration and like a thorn as it could be like an opportunity for something to bloom, and to see what the missing pieces are and to get out the way, like you said. So when we are able to take space to kind of reset, recalibrate, reframe for ourselves, it can set us up really nicely to lead in whatever capacity is needed. So whether we're taking the initiative or we're supporting someone else being centered and taking the lead, whatever that needs to look like.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to navigate it much better, because I think our generation has spent most of our lives being in between things, like the advent of something and the loss of something else, in a way that previous generations may not have been, because with information and technology, it didn't exist then in the same way that it exists now. So it can be as much Achilles' heel as it can be a superpower.
Absolutely.
And it's really just about perspective and how you leverage your resources. And if you do have limited resources, like making the connections, building those networks that are not transactional, but that are rooted in community care, rooted in self-care, rooted in authenticity. I mean, that's the older that we get, I think that becomes more and more rare because of the performance. But the more time that you give yourself to like take a step back and observe and listen, you will have the discernment to know what is and what isn't for you.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think that that's the quiet part out loud. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review. If you're listening and would like to watch, head on over to www.youtube.com/@the QPOL-216. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next episode.